Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 5th. Is it Wednesday? It seems like it shouldn't be Wednesday, but it is Wednesday. Yesterday, quite a trip, yes? Quite a trip. Let's come back and look at what happened yesterday. So, things started out on a fairly good downturn. It looked pretty ugly, especially off of that open. I believe that why this move happened was because of the gamma. So there was a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot of, but, some gamma expired last week and they were kind of rotating around this 4170 area. So, as soon as they dropped through that, they were gonna, fall apart. But then later on in the day, actually, I think it was more down here. Later on in the day, after we had done streaming, Janet Yellen came in and said, at some point they'll have to raise rates in the future. It's kind of funny because I think it was kind of taken out of contrast. She wasn't saying we need to raise rates now, or she wasn't contradicting anything that the Federal Reserve said. Oh, by the way, why do I have the position on here? That's so dumb. Hold on a second. I think I left an order on there on my sim. Flat. Okay. Anyways. She was kind of taken out of context, but the market was like, oh no, they're going to have to raise rates. Of course, when that happens, you don't stand in the way of that. So it went down. She did walk it back, and the E-mini mostly recovered. I actually did try taking along at the bottom. Like, I just kept bottom feeding after stream at great cost to my ego, but it did work out in the end, and I came out profitable. But oh my gosh, what a funny move. And the thing that was so funny about it was everybody was trying to bottom feed it. Like at this point, everybody has just reflexively turned into buy the dip, So I don't think that we even know how to deal with the trend down day anymore, right? So over here, the yields reacted. Well, at first they were up pretty strongly. But then when Yellen came in and talked, they got smacked down hard. Boosh. So we retraced most of that up move from yesterday, which I think is very, very interesting. So bonds, we get the quarterly refunding announcement today for the bonds. So that's going to be a huge data point for us, right? Oil doing well. Things look like, travel may begin in Europe again, so they're happy about that. Gold and silver just got absolutely demolished. I mean, they were looking great. Silver in particular was looking great until Janet opened her mouth. But then look at this, they didn't recover. So that sucks. That really sucks for silver, but whatever. Copper always doing great, of course. The dollar also, the dollar reacted pretty strongly to it. You can see that little spike there, but it even out actually wasn't so bad in the dollar. Now today, well, they moved a little bit higher and back. So we're still not back into a clear downtrend area for the dollar. So that is also going to be a slightly difficult, makes the things slightly more difficult for us. Anyways, how you guys doing? Joe Garza, it's Wednesday, my dudes. Oh yeah, we should keep in mind too, Wednesday, a lot of money gets put to work on Wednesday, so keep that in mind. Does look like the bonds are bearish at the moment, but we'll see what they end up doing. We do get some news here in a few minutes, right? So, first thing I need to do is make sure that Financial Juice is running because it doesn't automatically start anymore. Cool. Okay, good deal. Zero Hedge, over 8 million jobs below pre-COVID levels. ADP employment data disappoints in April. Oh, yes, because we do get that stuff today, huh? Let's come back at Forex Factory and look at what we got. Okay. No, that was a big miss. 742K versus a forecast 872K. Wow. It doesn't look like they reacted that it was that bad. Equity indexes actually initially jumped and then came back, so that's kind of interesting. Pierre says, what about ES? What do you mean, what about ES? I covered that one, right? Went down, it came back up. They bearish. Why? Why are you bearish? Well, I can maybe deal with that. Except for there's that iceberg there. You can kind of see the 10-year a little reluctant compared to the others today. Yeah, maybe they will just plow through that 08. I don't know. No. Very doubtful I'd get filled at 09, but... Scott Adams, how did India go from being mysteriously successful with the virus to the most dire situation? Seems like human behavior and restrictions alone can't explain the whole of that, and I don't think that that's what it happened. Let's see here. Vincent Rajkumar? What happened in India? March 2020 lockdown, June 2020 unlock starts, October 2020 most restrictions lifted, November 2020 to March 2021 life almost normal, breakdown of distancings and masks despite 10% vaccination, virus spreads and mutates, maskless crowds equals high viral dose exposure crisis. They're saying they did well because they were locked down for the most part, and then they reduced the restrictions before reaching an acceptable vaccination rate. Sure. What about where it's going? I mean, I have no clue where it's going. Do I ever really know? Well, okay, we got news, right? So what do we get? We get oh, I guess we don't get them until much later. I thought we had some PMIs coming up at 6:30, but I guess that's not the case. What happened to my Aquasnap? Aquasnap. Disabled, enabled, okay. Just doesn't work on the jigsaw window anymore, I guess. That sucks. Anyways, I mean, sometimes we had a piece of news that we really know based on sentiment. After yesterday, it's really hard to know for sure where we're going. Oh my, look at that. So that was interesting the way that played out, because well, I kind of suspected that they would go through the 08, but look, when it did, it just bush, and the 10-year actually led that move. They're probably going to have to pull back a little bit now, so. I mean, I had thought maybe, let's just do 08 FLAF, but, that one wasn't clearly undervalued enough, so I didn't. Well, sometimes that happens, you miss it. That was a real puke. Now, when is the refunding announcement? They don't list it on Forex Factory. Uzi says that move was, so you were short? Good job. Good job. How come I cannot find the time? So the PMI has come in at 9:45 and 10. Oh, breaking news. U.S. Treasury, we face uncertain and sizable borrowing needs. So that was news right there. I didn't hear them say anything over this clock, but I saw them post it on Twitter. Maybe I'm not having my thing on. Let's see here. I missed the boat yesterday and got boned a couple of times trying to play the middle of the session. Today made up for it at least. That's why I bailed on the stream early yesterday. I was frustrated. Oh, I bet, dude. Well, yesterday was just a frustrating day overall, man. Like, it was not... That was like a screw everybody kind of move, you know? Like, again, even if you're short on moves like that, even if you're trying to go short, it's difficult because they get like really wild pullbacks and volatility and stuff. Yeah. That's why, again, it's like the best trade is the first trade, right? Best trade is first trade. Well, if that move was off of news, then we recover back through here again. We might be able to take it again. I've been trying to get situated in a position in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the session. I noticed over the last few months that if I can't do that, I usually wind up frustrated. Oh, that's interesting. Well, they have been doing pretty good moves like right off of the open. That's for sure, right? Spread is being a little tricky here with the 10-year because the 10-year is not moving in line with what you would normally expect. But that, I guess, would suggest a news move. They would be more likely to trade it in the 10-year. Sure. Missed opportunities. From the Daily Beast, Dr. Fauci shouldn't have publicly dismissed herd immunity? Okay, so maybe a little bit more details here. U.S. Treasury announces quarterly refunding of $126 billion to raise approximately $78.3 billion of cash, refund $47.7 billion in maturing securities to sell $58 billion 3-year notes 41 billion 10-year notes, 27 billion 30-year bonds. Recent efforts to increase coupon auction sizes sufficient for near term. Projected borrowing needs. Seasonal or unexpected variations in borrowing needs over next quarter to be met by changes in bill auction sizes, cash management bills. It expects Congress to raise or suspend debt limit in a timely manner, may take certain extraordinary measures if Congress does not. Expects around USD 150 billion reduction in outstanding bills by July 31st approximately. Oh, was that actually the refunding announcement? Wait, did it happen at 6:30? It did. So maybe it was a 6:30 news. I don't know. Many times it rides all day in a chosen direction, and sometimes it reverses, but even then I could usually get 4 to 5 ticks. Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like in the E-mini, right? Like, when's the best time to take a trade in the E-mini? Right at the open. That's when the most activity is going. And in treasuries, it tends to be so directional. New data shows demand for butt implants soared during the pandemic. What? What the heck? Okay. See, 08 was where I was like, I want to get short. Well, it's back there. Could take it. One personal improvement I need to make is that if I'm not positioned by then or stopped out, don't bother with the day. But that's tough because, well, I have nothing else to do. Well, I think you'd still want to find other edges, right? Like the thing is you could find like one thing, right? Like there are certain one trades that I'll get almost every time, right? But you'd be really inconsistent with that, right? You miss it, then what, right? You gotta have multiple things. And sometimes developing those multiple things means sitting around trying to trade it on sim and failing a lot, you know? Trillions of cicadas are about to emerge from 15 U.S. states. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Yeah, maybe sim the day in those instances. Yeah, it's like, oh shit, really? Fuck. That sucked. I was like surprised. Oh, it got filled. It went right through me. It went right through me. Wow. Your portfolio was up 24%? So you should be comparing with the Russell, right? Russell 2000 YTD. 13 SPY A5, so that's good. 24%, that's good. At least when they manipulate this market, I know most of the tricks. What do you think? You think now it's going to be all up? They did it just in the 10-year too. Like, what the fuck? Could maybe buy the 30-year there. Like, if I got filled at 15. Bum, bum, bum. I don't think so. It's going to go through. Yeah, because they just explored it down.
Well,
they okay. Jeez. You want it that bad, huh? Ugh. Another daily naked value at 09. Kind of makes you wonder. So if it was a Treasury refunding announcement that pushed us down, are you really, they didn't fill me there? 30 in line? Possibility that live that would have filled. Watch, now they're going to go through and they're going to tick into 09 to screw me over again. Dogecoin was pumped by everyone alive yesterday. Even my dad said how I buy it with his bankroll. Yeah, they were above 60 yesterday. I was like, what the fetch? It seems to me, could be wrong, but it seems to me that this new form of retail traders a little bit more persistent. They don't give up on it. Yeah, of course. And then the toxic fill. So not so happy with my results today. Maybe I should just be trying to, well, not there. That one looks like a trap, but maybe I might do better to try and as she goes instead. Interestingly enough, I don't really see the currencies or anything else for that matter moving as this happens, except for maybe gold and silver. Gold and silver dip down and then are roaring back up with the treasuries. Under 20 minutes now until the Facebook decision on Trump. I can't think of a breaking news moment in recent years more fraught with significance for an election cycle, not to mention the future of social media industry, and somehow this hasn't leaked yet, says Eamon Javers. At the top of the hour then? I'm curious if the Quitcoin millionaires will be able to liquidate their positions. I mean, the casinos only lose so much. ZB freaking out looking for my stop loss, but I'm already out. Yeah, fine. Well, maybe the market makers are trying to just wiggle things around to stop people out for sure. I mean, that's sure what it felt like there, that last one that I got. Because they went and they cleared my stop, and then they cleared where my target would have been. But no, I think you're right, Uzi. Like, given that the Dogecoin is still sitting where it is and everything, kind of suggests to me that the people really pushing this haven't gotten out yet. I really think that when cryptocurrencies go, and it might not be for a while, we definitely get to this like crash imminent level. We've kind of come off from that a little bit, so it's still kind of touchy though. Yeah, it could last in an overbought condition for a long time, I think. And you definitely, I think there's a really big risk that when it does collapse, that it will do so very, very quickly. Someone has to pay. Well, maybe I also think, very speculative here, I think that part of the reason why it hasn't done it yet is because they can't pay for it, right? Like if the market collapsed, they wouldn't make their money. They need more suckers to come in, because there's really, like, they're printing billions of dollars in Tether, you know? The movement in Ethereum in particular has been just absolutely crazy lately. And we're definitely starting to see the altcoin rotation begin somewhat. It looks to me like a lot of altcoins are actually undervalued, but they don't necessarily react the same way to, actual transactions the way that, Bitcoin should. So a bubble in a bubble, MLM, one guy tells 10 more guys to buy it, right? Yeah, okay. Finally caught a winner there. They went right through that 10.5. I've been considering some one-for-one conversions to crypto to soften inflation blows. Still, I stand firmly against day trading. I just, the whole thing that it's a hedge against inflation, I think is just so funny and ridiculous. But is gold a hedge against inflation? Seems like not. Seems to me that if you want to hedge against inflation, that the place to be is copper, right? Definitely copper. Oh, if only I had bought copper earlier. But, I mean, it swings violently enough to work. I don't know, man. The whole thing is pretty crazy. For sure. I really don't trust it when it's not showing me that it's like oversold, you know? Like I still see a market that without Tether would be completely lost. Another thing that I should point out, like crypto news that we didn't really discuss, was that you can trade Tether on Coinbase now. So they have a dollar Tether pair on Coinbase now, right? Okay, why would you need that? Why would you need to be able to have a dollar Tether pair? You should be able to go to Tether and get it redeemed, right? Because they don't have the money. Right? So what do they got to do? If you're one of the big Tether holders, you want to move over to Coinbase, exchange it, leave somebody else holding the Tether. But who is it? Who is that going to be? Who's going to trade that? Who in their right minds? Well, let's go look. Coinbase Pro. Coinbase Pro. USDT, USD. It says it's $30 million, 24-hour volume. I don't know, man. Crazy. And look, there's treasuries hitting on the highs of the day. What are the squares on the right chart? I have multiple data series overlaid on top of each other. So the background, you are seeing a 5-minute chart. So there's a 5-minute chart with every individual price movement overlaid inside of it. And I have a video about that called How to Keep Track of Multiple Time Frames. And there's a download in the Discord channel where you can download the chart that kind of draws the box instead of a regular candle. President Biden, in 2 months, let's celebrate our independence as a nation and our independence from the virus. Oh boy. I tell you what, if things aren't all hunky-dory by July, sure not going to look good, is it? Not going to look good for Biden, not going to look good for anybody, really. Hello from Indonesia, that's a new one. Welcome to the stream. What do you think? They're going to just plow through this? Well, where would they be getting to for this to be like, well, you know, they were a lot higher yesterday, right? So 132.16 was kind of that key spot we were watching yesterday, and then the high was 24. So they definitely still got room. The street asking if Bitcoin is ready to break out based off of consolidations and so forth. Okay, so they were all kind of aligned there when they were touching the highs. ZB still seems to be like doing its own thing, but maybe a slight bit of flattening coming through now. Like they steepened on the way down, they're flattening on the way up. Alligator only makes sense if they anticipate persistent inflation. Okay, now they both ticked down that time, right? And it dragged ZB with it. So 5 years seems to be the one moving it. $10.5 the open. Okay. That one did not turn out the way that I wanted. Very toxic flow today. It like almost never holds, does it? So I think we need to change our strategy here, huh? Nope, too slow. Biden blocks Trump era gig worker rule. As that's going to hit, well, those companies have already kind of been smacked down, but that's going to hurt Uber and all those, yeah? Really? I'm sitting here like, okay, you're going to be like that. I'm just going to cancel the order and make you pay higher. You play that game. Clearly, the mid price has moved up. Or at least in the 10-year, the mid price has moved up. They haven't drugged the 5-year with them yet, surprisingly enough. I think that 3/4 we're going to go. Boom, 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 bottom. Dollar kind of shifting around a lot today. Oh my gosh. So, Cooler Master, who I follow on Twitter, posted a little picture that says, I once forgot to peel off the plastic coating my cooler before adding the thermal paste. Yeah, that would suck. I saw this video yesterday, though, where somebody was trying to pull their cooler off, and it had the cooler had fused to the processor with the thermal paste so tightly that when he pulled it out, instead of it, just coming off, it pulled the whole CPU out of the socket. I thought it was hilarious. That would freak me out so much. Oh, man. Okay, Facebook has decided to uphold their suspension of Trump and not allow him back on the platform. How come I'm not hearing it, Financial Juice? What's the deal? Hey, my Wi-Fi's out and in today. Oh, cool. How are you doing, by the way? Hit the like button. Uzi, oh my gosh, so much surprise. Right. I know. I was reading all this stuff from the Politarati earlier that was like, this is a really critical in order for Donald Trump to be able to run again and all of that stuff, right? I don't think he actually cares. I think that if they unsuspended him, he still wouldn't use it. No joke. He set up a blog the other day, and my understanding, at least, is that they're still developing their own platform. I don't think it matters. But I guess I'm also not sure how badly he actually wants to run again. So, that's kind of a thing. If he does run again as a Florida resident, they'll have to unban him or they'll be fined. Oh, really? Yeah, I gotcha. Looking weak at 12? Why wouldn't that? I think that there's more than 1,400 they're going to trade at 12 if they take it. And if they decided not to unsuspend him, it's only going to fire him up and his base up to run more. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to me like it would be better if somebody else ran. Seems to me that they would do better. Okay, so them treasuries going like block buy. Yeah, he wants it. I don't know why he gave me so much grief back here. They clearly, I could tell, when that first block buy at 09.5 came through, I was kind of like, okay, you really care. How so? The Republican Party is shitty wet toilet paper without Trump? Well, so because he's done too many dumb things. So how do I put this? Donald Trump has a lot of really good things going for him as a politician. Okay, he stuck to his promises. He wasn't afraid to rock the boat. He didn't come in and be like, oh, we can't do X, Y, and Z because our supporters, the money supporters, they don't really want it. It was like, no, screw you guys. This is what I said I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. That was great. Never seen any other politician do that. Absolutely great. Okay. But the problem was that as things went along, you kind of saw more and more people would leave, you know? It was like at the beginning, I felt like they were pretty smart. They made good decisions. Of course, they had a lot of things not go their way. The media narrative was always against them, and that makes it really, really difficult. Okay. And then there was the way that they reacted to the border crisis thing in particular. When you look at what is happening now with Biden, I just don't understand how everybody's not absolutely livid. Like, it barely gets talked about, but the border crisis that Biden has created is 10 times worse than what was under Trump. It's 100% due to what Joe Biden has done, and he's following a policy that I don't, that if you were to go and do polling, and I'm sure they have, we can go find it, the majority of Americans don't support. So, you know, how did that work out? But then when that happened, the administration was a little flat-footed, right? So they had mistakes that kind of hurt them, but he still continued to do what he said he was going to do, and I think that he did the Republicans really well, especially with like his tax reform package and things like that, right? Okay, but like I said, as things went along, it kind of went off of the rails until you got to that, you know, the January 6th riots. And of course, the media kind of overplays their hand on that. I mean, nothing bad happened, and there's kind of a lot of people like assuming what the protesters actually wanted to happen, and we don't actually know. But, you know, that wouldn't have happened if he had actually had like good messaging and stuff, right? But the reality was he wanted to come in and say that one guy was going to come and invalidate the election and force like everything to be I mean, who knows what he thought was going to happen. Okay. But and he told everybody to come down and for a protest. And then he gives a speech and he's like, just make your voices heard. Yeah. Like, come on. What do you think is going to happen? It was, and you guys, do you remember when it was first announced? When he said to come down, I was kind of like, oh, really? Okay, well, that's going to be interesting. It didn't turn out well, right? And the concern that I would have with Donald Trump running again is what kind of team he would be able to actually build up. Like, I have serious concerns about that at this point, because I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just saying that seems to be the reality, that the later parts of the administration, they were starting to fall into Trump's worst impulses, going off message, doing things that they didn't really need to do that hurt the party. I mean, really, that January 6th, 7th, whatever thing, that really hurt the party big time. Really hurt the party big time. So when I look at Donald Trump, I think that his usefulness to the Republican Party and conservatives is much more in holding the party to what the base really actually wants. Because you continue to get this nonsense where it's very clear what Republican voters want to have happen, and the Republican lawmakers in Congress don't do it. They don't do it. They continue to spend and things like that. I guess Donald Trump is maybe even a little bit of a part of that, because he didn't decrease the deficit. Well, I don't know, understandable. Anyways, I digress. He would be so much more powerful if he started his own media company, a social network or a news company, and he used that to promote America First ideas. Because I really think that that's where he has something good, right? Is the idea that the state is supposed to put the interests of its own citizens first, because that is not what Joe Biden is doing. Oh my gosh. my interests, the interests of me, speculator Seth, are at the very back of the line right now under the Biden administration. Okay, and they're doing things that I believe are going to really hurt the America in the years to come. They're going to hurt competitiveness in the economy and culture. They're sending culture down a direction that I think makes us less competitive. So it's America last with Joe Biden. And I think that that's the message that resonated with voters that isn't being served well by Congress. And you come in and you get Donald Trump comes in and he wins. So let's just say that he wins. It doesn't solve the problem, because the problem is still that you got all of these stupid Republicans that don't do what they're supposed to do. And you're not finding people that to run that are competent to replace them. That's what they need to work on. That's what Donald Trump needs to work on. He should be focused on that rather than another like run for president that at this point I kind of have to wonder if it's just vanity, you know? Let's see here. The problem wouldn't go away one way or another. I mean, you have open borders, NGOs down south organizing caravans all the time. Doesn't really matter who president is. Yeah, but you know, it's like you just see yesterday. One of the big stories in the political circles was that the Democrats are talking about trying to pass amnesty with reconciliation. So they're already bending the rules, saying you can use reconciliation more than once. And then there's a lot of concern about what actually is allowed to go into reconciliation, because it's only supposed to be used for like must pass budget sort of things, right? And now you're going to use it to push amnesty. And I don't think that the majority of Americans support amnesty the way that the Biden administration wants to pass it. It would be, oh man, if they really do that, can you imagine how toxic to the political discourse that's going to be if they were able to do that? You know? And yeah, it's a little crazy to me that that's like an issue that, you know, I don't know. You know, I don't know. You get what I'm saying. If people wanted more regulated immigration policies, they'd have more children. Western governments are taking a shrinking native population and running on deficits. Of course, migrants would be a priority. Well, for any dynamic, there are people that win and lose, right? We, the people, benefit from a decreasing population. That's why people don't have as many kids. You don't, like, it's self-regulating. Honestly, it is. If people don't feel like they have the resources to really support kids, then they don't have them. The population is less. That means that you can divvy things up against more people, except for that we've built an economy now in the United States that relies largely on the population growth and in the inflation. Right? Listen, this isn't something that can go on forever. Or, you know, like they talk about, well, the reason that these governments want to bring in the migrants is because of the declining birth rate and things like that. Okay, like that will work for, like, you know, a good 30, 50 years. But by the end of the century, the entire world is going to be in that situation. Then what do you do? Well, like I said, it's good for people. You know, you're going to have less competition. You're going to get paid more. So who does this really benefit? It benefits the corporations. It does. And, you know, I sound like a Democrat now, but that's what happens. Why is it so hard to get representatives that actually want to represent regular people rather than the large corporate interests? Like the thing that like really irks me about it is that I thought, you know, when you come in and you allow politicians to get donations from practically anywhere, you have the internet, so you can get tons of donations from the internet, and You know, it's just like the funding that these candidates have available to them is insane compared to years past, right? These campaigns that they're running were the amount of money they spent on the last campaigns was huge. And the thing is in the primaries, okay, there were some really stupid people, idiots that stood no chance of becoming president, that were able to get a much more serious look than they would have gotten in the future because the funding is so readily available. You can practically be bankrolled by one person, and all it takes is one person. You just got to convince one person, and you can run for president and stand a reasonable chance, except for, you know, the way that the media kind of doesn't take some candidates seriously, but probably they shouldn't anyways, but I digress. Okay, so you would think that would allow politicians to push for any policies that they want because they're going to be able to find it from anywhere that they want. But it hasn't worked out that way, has it? Hasn't worked out that way. They are more beholden to special interests and lobbying more than ever. And maybe part of it is the way that the funding works. I don't think that this whole thing that Democrats want, where you know, like they get rid of the PACs. Well, the whole PAC thing needs to end. But you can't come in and say, "Hey, you guys are private citizens. You can't make a movie about the election or an idea or something." Like that's not. The Supreme Court made the right choice in that case, right? But how do you control? I think it should be. Here's what just spitballing. I think that if you're running for president, that you get a certain amount of airtime and it's free. Like they should make the money part of it insignificant. That should be the goal. The goal that I see, the thing that I hate is whenever they propose regulation around this stuff or legislation around this stuff, is they don't want to make the money irrelevant. Like they still want politicians to be doing that stuff. They just want to like limit it, you know? Nah, like I think that you have to make it irrelevant. Like force media companies to give them a certain amount of airtime. And then maybe we could have some balance with it because, man, some of the amount of ads and stuff that we saw, I don't know. Just spitballing. There's problems with that, but kind of forcing people to do stuff. But I'm not so sure that that's the problem. I think the problem is who chooses to run. I think that the person that knows where the problems are and wants to go and do the right thing for the majority of the American public doesn't run. I think that the person that runs is the person that isn't really very well connected to the problems of regular people because they're already filthy rich, right? Filthy rich people run for office. And, you know, of course it's got to be like that because you have to do all of this fundraising. Half of your time you're spent fundraising and stuff like that, right? The media presence is like the most important thing at this point. So you only get people that are already famous, essentially. So you're seeing a lot of actors going into politics, right? That sort of a thing. And so no wonder the people that get in there, they go along with the interests of their rich buddies. It's the wrong people are running. So how do you find the right person? Well, you got to find people that are politically engaged. Yeah, you got to find somebody like myself that's actually a personable person and that people will like. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't think that I would do very well running for office, but the thing that I do have is that I'm really engaged in politics. I have a very good idea of what's going on, right? And it's not just purely ideological, right? There's just not very many people out there like that. You need a real combination of qualities that's almost impossible to find. What do you think about Andrew Yang? Well, first of all, I think that his whole thing, I don't think he's a real politician. I think that he's just a tech entrepreneur that, like the most of Silicon Valley, has fallen into this trap of we need to have basic universal income, even though they don't really understand the economics of it. And so he came in just to push that, and he became popular because of that. I don't think that he's a very good politician. I thought that his performances in the debates in particular were atrocious. I'm not really too bullish on his future prospects, if you could say that, call them that. But he's popular. It kind of irks me because he has learned how to exploit algorithms to the point where like Facebook was recommending politicians to people and stuff like that, which I don't think that's, in my mind, that's not moral. I don't think that who you support for president should be determined by a Facebook algorithm, you know? Probably you're going to come to that conclusion on your own anyways, but I don't think that Facebook should be the one giving it to you, you know? I guess my issues with Andrew Yang really come down more to the people, because it's the same thing that irritates me about Dogecoin. You got all of these idiots running around the internet spamming about Dogecoin all the time because they think the more that we spam Dogecoin, the more rich we're going to get. They're so flippin' annoying. I hate this. I truly hate this attitude that Gen Z in particular has taken, that substance doesn't matter anymore, that we just pick the thing that we want to be popular and plaster it everywhere, and that's how we're going to create value. It's stupid. And you're going to run into real problems in the future if they continue to do this, right? Like with all of this money that is essentially being thrown away, going into the cryptocurrency space, like there are actual consequences to that, to the economy. If you continue to allocate large amounts of capital to something that has no value, there's going to be problems. So, and Andrew Yang is another symptom of that problem. Trump is like the most unlikely populist. Well, it's kind of weird how his politics turned into. I don't think that Donald Trump would naturally be a Republican. Dogecoin is now at 67. Well, they were at 60. They were like breaking 60 last night. It's the amount of money, where that money is coming from. It's a little crazy to think about, isn't it? Not quite sure what to make of that. Okay, well, the Treasury is coming back quite a bit. They did breach 23. Uzi was saying 31. It's still technically, in a spot where we could say up, but at the moment, it looks to me like somebody really wanted to buy it and he's done. So I suppose I could get out here and be okay with it, but why not let that one erode? Don't remind me. Don't think about it. Well, I mean, don't worry about it. Is Dogecoin money? Yes. Is there a supply limit? No. So the thing you got to remember about Dogecoin, there is no limit, and 10,000 new coins are minted every 10 minutes. Yeah. So the amount, like, you have to have a couple $1,000, a day just to keep the price going, which means that for it to get to where it is, you really truly have to have a large amount of people coming into it. And their target, are you kidding or are you serious? No, it's 10,000 new coins every 10 minutes. It really is. So for Dogecoin to continue going up, a massive amount of money has to be getting put into it. You realize the problem with this, right? These kids are throwing all of this money into it. They're going to lose their shirts. All of that money, I guess most of them, I don't think that they care if it goes, but it's just kind of, it's a symptom of the problem, right? That everybody thinks that the opportunities out there for their capital are so slim and rare that they would rather YOLO it on a fucking coin about dogs? Are you kidding me? Investors will get blown out. They will. 80% of people in bubbles lose money. And everybody thinks that like, oh, well, the people in Dogecoin, they're making money. They haven't sold yet, guys. And when they sell, they're all going to try selling at the same time, and most of them will lose money. They'll lose everything. They'll lose everything. How do you, so the whole problem with Dogecoin, how do you know how far it's going to go? Is it really actually going to make it to $1? I don't know. Some people want it to go to $1.50. It's going to have to be an absolutely massive amount of money put into it to get to that spot. I'm not sure they can actually do it. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's just difficult. But I don't know what today it sure looks like they'll get there, huh? I've been getting called a Dogecoin. Well, I'm a Dogecoin hater. Here's what I think. I think that the reason capital works, that capitalism works, is because it allocates capital efficiently. If you allocate capital to something and it doesn't work out, you will lose that capital. You put it into the business expenses, it goes to other companies, and that money doesn't disappear. It just goes somewhere else. If you are doing really well, you will do stock buybacks, you'll do dividends, and you return that money back to the investors. So the investors that made good decisions and allocated money to the correct places take that money and they'll reallocate it to other spots of the economy. But what are we doing right now? We're allocating billions of dollars into a dog meme. Billions of dollars. Right? And where is that going to go? Because are we really investing that capital into an efficient place? No, we're not. We're not. And so what's going to happen? It's going to collapse. Y'all going to lose their money. And then this rich guy is going to go and allocate it into some other stupid coin, right? You're taking money out of the economy that could be used to create jobs and things that actually have value. They still make money, but actually do something good. But see, these kids, they don't understand that that's what investing is. They think that it's just a game to make money. It's a real problem. They got to understand this. If people don't understand this, then the future of capitalism is doomed. The thing that keeps us going, the reason that the United States defeated the Soviets during the Cold War, the reason that the United States did so well in the last two world wars and has been the dominant superpower on the planet for the last 120 years or so, is because capitalism allocates capital efficiently. And if we destroy that with a culture of gambling, then we will not be competitive against China. And China will become the dominant world power, and they will control everything. There was a story out on Zero Hedge today about how China really wants to take control of the internet. You won't be able to say what you want. You won't be able to think what you want. Speculator Seth won't be on YouTube anymore. You'll just do what the Chinese government wants, even if you don't live in China. That's what'll happen. That's the road that we're going down because these kids don't understand what allocation of capital means. Okay, so here's the open. There's a sell on the initial move down. Fed's Evans is talking right now. Breaking, Trump is backing Elise Stefanik bid for House Republican conference chair. Well, there goes Liz Cheney. Good riddance. That's largely why I sold, because when I saw people expressing so much confirmation bias and faith, it put me into triggered atheist lol, like I've been here before. Yeah. Man, that was a really big rant for me, wasn't it? I hope you guys enjoyed that. How many people? No, okay, you guys are enjoying. Okay, we're good. You're enjoying the rant. I'm glad that my audience understands this and that you're on board with, what does it mean to allocate capital efficiently? And it's the same thing with day trading, to be honest. So I think part of it is the Federal Reserve. Can I go that far? The way that we have just been pumping money into the system so that it's like any dip, you just buy the dip. It doesn't matter what you buy. You just go in, you buy the dip, go and buy the thing that's the most popular. You make money. It's a problem. Investors need to learn the hard lessons. Investors need to learn the lessons that, hey, if you don't know what's going on, you probably shouldn't invest because you're not going to know how to efficiently allocate your capital and you'll just lose the money right away. Right? That's the way that it works. And what have we taught them? No, you just got to buy the dip and go into the most popular thing. Create the largest confirmation bias asset bubble that you can, and then hope that you make it out in time. That's what we've been reduced to. Too much capital, so it's not being properly allocated. That's exactly it, Matt. That's exactly it. There's so much capital out there floating around that it's not valuable. But I don't think it's just that. It's not just that there's too much capital being allocated. There's too much capital being allocated for the opportunity that's out there. Like really think about it. There are companies out there that have, remember back when it was Apple and Google, back, I would say like 2017. I don't know if all you guys will remember this. And one of the big discussions in the market was, what are Apple and Google going to do with this huge wad of cash that they're sitting on? Like they had a huge cash reserve and they weren't putting it to work, right? The reality is that the places that have been the most efficient have been so successful that they don't know what to do with the capital. There's not actually places to do it because the growth that we've had wasn't really truly organic. And there are places that have not been efficient allocations of capital, but haven't been forced to face the music. And so because the forest doesn't burn down, you don't have the opportunity for the regrowth. So the people down at the bottom end of the ladder don't see those opportunities to hustle, right? I was thinking about this morning because sometimes I feel like a little directionless. Like, okay, I have this stream and I'm always doing my research to try and get better. And I have these things that I'm doing. But then outside of that, it's like, what am I doing? So I get bored. It's nighttime. I will need something to do. What am I going to do to better myself, to take advantage of opportunities, to work hard? I don't know what it is. I just end up making music and kind of ideas that I find uninspiring. Like I'll go in and make the song, but I'm just kind of like, not inspired at all. This is not there, That sort of a thing. Yeah, Uzi said 31 and it hit that. Good job. Now we're at 16, which was that key level in the 10-year yesterday. Look, the 16 is pulling. So they're kind of suggesting that they've got more to come. And the E-mini is just taking the plunge again, below 4170. I did not write the title to avoid giving speculator Seth a heart attack here while he live streams. Well, equity's getting slammed at the open. What did Kaplan say? You know what? That Squawk has been saying things I haven't really been paying attention. The economy is recovering, but there is always a long way to go. We expect inflation to speed up in the short to medium term. Federal Reserve is making strong strides on the jobs mandate. Fed strategy is expected to be on hold for quite some time. He's been saying a lot. There's already a long way to go before refueling Fed mandates. We project inflation will be in the low 1% range next year. There's no indications that inflation rates are going to spiral out of control, and nobody believes you. Over the next few years, I see strong improvement in the employment target. Yeah. Europe's unlocking of economies and acceleration of vaccines were already built into the ECB's forecast for March. I'm not so sure that it's really Evans that's making it happen, though, to be honest with you. Yeah. One says, directionless, you have climbed. Mass allows hierarchy of needs. You have safety and survival, love and belonging. You're at self-esteem and now want to either create or pay it forward. Yeah, that is exactly it. But before we did this stream, I spent a lot of my effort doing the DJ and producer thing. And, I was to the point where I was even starting to create my own events a little bit. I wouldn't say that I was good at it, but I was at least starting to build a team and we were doing okay. Maybe if I was doing a genre of music that was really popular, it could have been successful with it. And then things kind of changed. I started doing this. I didn't want to stay up late anymore, so it didn't really make sense. And a lot of those people fall off the deep end. There's this one guy that he was kind of more the promoter. He had moved from regular to doing raves to doing more regular convention type stuff, which smart move on him, except for the pandemic. I don't know what he's been doing since then, but it was between the politics and everything else. And he was the type that, a lot of left-leaning people are very heavily use social media, more so than people on the right from the statistics that I've seen. And he just couldn't take it. I didn't think that I was saying stuff that was all that bad, during the election, but the Democrats just couldn't handle it. And this was long before actual bad stuff happened, like the election steal and all that stuff, right? So, I basically stopped caring about that network. I was like, you know what? You guys don't want to hear, you just straight up don't want to hear what I'm going to say about certain things. And I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I want to say what needs to be said, And so I kind of just let that one go. I still make the music because the music is the one hobby that I've been able to find that isn't stressful, but then I don't get that I'm hustling and building something, and sometimes even with the stream a little bit, I feel like, oh, I'm not doing a good job with that. I haven't been doing a good job. I wrote out a new script to deal with the issues that I had with the video that I'm trying to make. Should be able to record it this weekend. I think that it will be a really good video. I think that it will be really good for the channel and you guys will like it. Although a lot of it is going to be stuff that we talk about on stream. You guys are already going to know about. But for everybody else, I'm hoping that this really changes people's perspectives about what their approach to trading. And research. This is going to be about research in particular. So And it will be the first of a 4-part series. So hopefully that, like, when people see that, they'll be like, oh, yes, I want to subscribe to this. And that will really wear the channel. Anyways. And I guess another part of it is just that, yeah, because of the pandemic, you're not really interacting with people. So it's like, what do you do? What do you do? But to me, it doesn't have to be with people. It's more to do with, am I hustling? Do I have something that I'm building and I'm working and I have to look forward to see how it does, if it's successful or not, things like that. And I just don't see the opportunities. I don't for some reason. I'm sitting here waiting for I want to take risks. I want to take risks. But I don't really see good risks to take right now. Most people just outright hate my opinions, and they've tried to shut me up. I get banned on every social media platform for being an anti-theist, and it's just made me louder. Well, let's talk about that then, since you brought it up. You got to pick and choose your battles, right? I thought that I was picking and choosing my battles wisely. I don't regret anything that I ever said. But there are certainly some things that you're going to talk about. Okay, so like Liz Cheney is a great example. Have you guys been seeing what's going on with Liz Cheney? So Liz Cheney has been the conference chair for the Republican House. And she keeps making comments that, the election wasn't stolen and things like that. Okay. In her mind, this is about, are we going to lie to people or not lie to people? Okay. But the base, first of all, the base does believe that the election was not fair. They believe that election officials in several states broke the rules, which I agree with. They did break the rules. I don't know if it made a material difference to the election, but rules were broken and procedures not followed, and nobody paid for it. And that's a really big problem to me. And I think that even though I'm not going to say that Donald Trump should have won if it was a fair contest, I think that we have to have a serious discussion about how to run fair elections, fair and secure elections, right? That's what the Republican base wants. Okay. But here's the thing, is it pertinent anymore? Is it really pertinent? I don't think it is. You know what's pertinent right now? The Republicans need to take the House back in 2022, or else Joe Biden is going to continue to just do whatever he wants. And the speed with which they have tried to take policy in this country is really quite astounding. I don't think that people realize how aggressive this administration has been, and frankly successful in trying to change the direction of the country in a road that I don't think the majority of Americans support. Okay, that's the thing that matters. And what does Liz Cheney do? Instead of talking about the issues that matter to people, we need to enforce our border laws. It's not a good idea to just tell everybody, hey, you should come to the United States and we'll just let everybody in. That's not a good thing. Oh, we're getting numbers. Hold on. It sounds like the numbers are okay. Market's not really reacting to it. Anyways, so these are the things that matter. And what does Liz Cheney keep doing? She keeps bringing the party back to, the party is evil because they were involved in that January 6th riots. Doesn't matter. It was a group of protesters. People did what they did. It happened. Nothing bad happened. It doesn't have to be the Republican Party going forward, okay? Don't talk about it, Liz. Just shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. Language, technical term here. Listen, you got to be able to use language effectively, and I think that this is one of the cases. Liz, shut the fuck up and just do your job and get Republicans reelected. She doesn't want to do that, so they're replacing her, right? You got to pick and choose your battles. So, back to you, Keller. Does whether or not people believe in God really matter? It doesn't. Honestly, what does it change? Okay. If somebody thinks that God exists or doesn't exist, here's the thing. We thought, some people thought that you can get rid of religion. They thought, everybody will not believe in God. We won't have religion. We won't have ritual, and the world will be better for it. And what have we learned over the past 10 years? Doesn't work. People have a deep psychological need for religion and for ritual. And if they don't have it with God, they will replace it with something else. And that something else turns out to be not very useful, not very good either. Okay? So religious society runs witch trials. Well, so that's where I think that the objective for you shouldn't be to convince people that God doesn't exist, but rather to convince people that individual beliefs within their belief system are harmful. Right? And here's the thing. People can hold human beings are very, very good at holding two contradictory beliefs simultaneously. Okay, the double think thing, like 1984, people are great at it. Okay, people can both believe that in the evolution and fossils and all of that stuff, and simultaneously think that God created the world in 7 days. Okay, millions of people do it. Right? It doesn't have to be, bad culture. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, number one, you're not going to convince very many people. The people that already believe in God, you're not going to convince very many of them to not believe in God. And if you do convince them to not believe in God, it's not necessarily a win, because then they latch onto other things that are harmful. Pick and choose your battles. Gay people can't get married. Well, so who cares? That was probably, I know that's like, Seth, don't say that. But guys, what is your actual goal? Think about it. What is your actual goal? There are certain rights that you don't have if you're not married. Okay, you get tax deductions if you're married. You can visit them in the hospital if you're not married. So why don't you just change your goal to be make it so that those benefits are not attached to marriage, that there's other ways to get them, that you can legally do them without being married, and let them have their institution of marriage. Huh? I'll tell you why they don't do that. Because it's not about that. It's about validation. Right? Here's why people have problems with other religions. There's a large group of people that believe something different from me that doesn't validate my own belief and ideas about the world, and people don't like that. Right? And this is why we get like cliques and wars and things like that. Then it becomes in-group, out-group stuff. The solution is, don't care about it. Let people think what they want to think, and focus on the things that matter. Validation, good idea. Let's all validate Speculator Says channel by clicking the like button. But you go and saying, like, there are certain battles that you're going to fight that you're just going to lose. And I don't think you're actually going to like the world if you won. So rethink it. Go back and ask yourself what really matters. What is the thing that is really happening that I don't like? And what are better ways to fix them? You're not going to get rid of religion. So if there's a particular policy or thing that you think needs to change in the world, you should focus on that rather than the religion. Yeah, you would love it. You think that. Keller, here's the thing. You're like, what, 19? Here's the evolution that you go through, okay? People that are young tend to support liberal policies because they look at the world and they say, oh, you're 34. Okay, so maybe you're still coming into it. They say, hey, the world isn't the way it should be. So once you get into your 20s, that's what you realize. The world isn't the way that it should be. Right? By your late 20s, early 30s, what you're going to be saying to yourself, at first it's like, you don't feel confident in yourself. You don't say like, I don't know everything. I don't know what I'm going. Like, this is this constant thing that people say, like, what are we supposed to be doing? Like, I don't get adulting, that sort of a thing. You still feel like a kid. Yeah, everybody goes through that. It's like that imposter syndrome thing, right? By the time you get to like 35, what you realize is that nobody has a fucking clue what's going on. And they're all idiots, yourself included. Right? And the way that you're going to come to that realization, or the way that you come to that realization, is you're going to win. This is what's going to happen, is there's going to be times in your life where you want something to happen, you want a policy to happen, or whatever the deal is, and it happens, and then it turns out to be a bad thing. You're going to be, so you won, but you were wrong, right? And then you're going to realize, oh, maybe if the world was exactly the way that I wanted it to be, it wouldn't necessarily be a good thing. You know what I mean? Atheism is not the end. I mean, it's just not true. People, there are many good, effective scientists that still believe in God. I almost think it's like a lack of self for to go that far. It's almost like a lack of self-awareness, right? Like who, dude? Practically, okay. It's not like scientists are 90% atheists, guys. Like, the majority of these people that are over working on CERN or nuclear fusion or space exploration or any of these other super groundbreaking high-tech scientific endeavors, the majority of them are Christians. Like, that's what the statistics tell us, is that the majority are still Christians. See, what it comes down to is this, guys. Humans are very good at holding contradictory opinions at the same time. And we don't want to believe that we ourselves are like that, but we all are. This was this discussion that we were always having with Ace, right? It was like, I totally get that there are certain things about my belief system that might not make complete logical sense. And there's probably not really a very good way to reconcile all of them, right? You don't have to, because it doesn't matter. It's actually beneficial to you in your life, in your social life, and everything else to be able to do that. So you just kind of know and understand that things are the way they are. By the way, I'm really happy that I got out at 16.5. Not that it's not going to go higher, but I got a pretty good exit for the time being. Religion isn't an insurance policy. It's a Ponzi scheme, if anything. Well, but that's where it comes back to the issue that's like, you realize you can't get rid of religion, right? There are things that people cannot believe and understand everything on a scientific level. It's just not practical, right? We have to use what is the word? Shortcuts. It's a dangerous liability. You know what I have found as a dangerous liability is when people unwaveringly believe in science when they're not practicing science themselves. Okay. I think that what is dangerous is these group of people that have turned race and intersectionality and all of this nonsense into their religion. This is something that's going to tear and destroy the country and lead to like real carnage. Real carnage. Yeah, think about, the 30-year war and when religion was creating like really bad wars around the world, and some of these ideologies that I see popping up in place of religion, that's what they're going to lead to, man. That's what they're going to lead to. People have to have these belief systems. It's just the natural that they will gravitate towards them. Progressivism obviously filled their religion void with critical theory. It did. They did. I believe that. Yeah. They replaced, they shut off religion and people replaced it with critical race theory. And critical race theory is a more dangerous religion to the human race than Christianity is. Okay, Christianity was all about love your neighbor and all of this stuff. And maybe they're wrong about individual issues, but you know what? Like, society progresses, okay? And the religions are good at, well, I mean, I know that they resist it, but in the end, they bend towards how society is going. In the end, they do bend. Unless the religion has a really good point, like, as it has to do with the institution of the family, for instance. Okay, Christianity is absolutely right about the institution of the family, that it's good to have nuclear families with a husband and wife and children with strongly defined roles for each. That was better for society than what we've kind of turned into, where the institution of marriage is for the personal fulfillment of individuals, and you don't have kids and both of you work. It hasn't been healthy for people. It's also increased the workforce and made our labor worth less. Science and intellectualism without morality is death. That was the point. I don't get what you're saying there. Yeah, religion provided the foundations of morality? Probably, yeah. Okay, so we're going to get these PMIs. We do need to pay attention for this one. And then maybe I can take a trade in the E-mini. We'll see. Nuclear on verge of ESG inclusion. White House to subsidize existing plants. Oh, please. Please, please, please. You're skipping over your right. Yeah, I didn't catch all of them. They have original sin, whiteness, forgiveness, anti-racism, and even saints, people killed by police. Yeah. That treasury's coming back there pretty solid. Okay, 10 seconds here. Manufacturing prices, by the way, the previous was 74. Okay, so the numbers are lower than expected. Okay, so the PMI was 62.7 versus an expected 64.3. Non-manufacturing business activity is 62.7 versus 69.5. So the regular businesses are decreasing their activity because of the supply constraints, is I think what it is. Now manufacturing prices up higher, 76.8 versus 74. So that's bad. That might be why the indexes have been pushing down. Fed's Evans, I'm concerned that inflation rates are falling short of the 2% goal. Studies have shown that the exact opposite, that even in early civilizations, religion was something that stood in the face of morality, was the anger. Well, yeah, so, like, here's the thing. The point that I'm trying to make is you can't get rid of it. Like, I don't think that acknowledged that point. Okay. So let's focus on that point first. You can't get rid of religion. Okay. If you prove to everybody that Islam and Christianity are all false, okay, they will replace it with something else. They will come up with an atheist religion. They already do it. There's the woke religion. There's also this atheist scientific religion. And you can't. You can't. You're fighting against human nature here, Keller. People are going to do it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It is ingrained into their very DNA and being. There are so many religions, unfortunately, to take seriously. Why do you guys think there are so many religions, guys? Name a culture that hasn't had some sort of religion involved with it, right? And the thing is that I think the problem is that we've attached religion to a belief in God because we're a Christian nation. But when you really get at it, it's really not that, is it? It's a collective belief system with ritual, right? Humans have these tendencies to do it. They will replace it somehow. Atheism isn't a religion, but it is. There are people, they do have, they're atheists that they treat their religion as science, and they come in and they believe things that aren't true based on their religion, right? Hence, you get all of these liberals that believe that nuclear power is going to be the death of us, when the reality is that nuclear power plants are safer than other forms of power. And it would put us on the path to sustainability. We could already be there. We could already be there if we hadn't stopped development of nuclear power 30 years ago, and we had started to go with more safe and more effective nuclear power technologies. Where does it come? Is it really based in science? It's not. They think it is, though. The eco religion. Everybody's got it one, man. You can't, they're going to replace it with something. So here's the question then. If people are going to have some sort of a religion, then what we should really be thinking is what would be the most effective one. Man, these indexes are just getting destroyed. I'm kind of tempted to just sell it, but I just don't feel the short for some reason. Maybe part of that is because I did so well on the treasury trade here when I decided to screw it and just swing it. We just pay attention to reality the way it presents itself. Let's start a religion where everyone must wear red trousers. Okay. If you think that is going to be, that's what you've been told to think by religious people, that everything is real, but it is. It is. I'm sorry, but all of these belief systems in the United States, at every level, I can point out to you a belief system, how they apply ritual and beliefs that are out of line with reality. Okay? It's really easy to do with the intersectionality, whatever we call it. The woke religion. It's very easy to do with that one. That's what they want you to believe, so that you see no reason to ever change? No. It's not something that, it's just an objective fact, Keller. I don't see how you look at literally every society in the world that's ever existed and not say, oh, there's something about humans that they need religion. Like, all of the studies support this, that the health benefits of religion, the people that are involved in church activity like live longer and are happier and all of these things. Do you think that Christians are happier because Well, I mean, I believe this to some extent, but you probably don't believe that Christians are happier because God makes them happier because they're following his commandments. Do you believe that? Yeah, there are tons of atheist countries that are super successful, yes, and those people turn atheism into their religion. Like, honestly, if you're atheist, so like, why does there need to be a forum for atheists, like on Reddit? Have you ever gone and read the atheist subreddit on Reddit? It's ridiculous. They are in their own world. Like, honestly, they care about shit that doesn't matter. They're like pushing the same things, and it's like out of kilter with what everybody else, they make arguments that are just not convincing to other people because they're so caught up in their bubble. Well, not necessarily they make the state their God. Yeah, sure. I think there are some people that make atheism their God. Totally. Just go and read r/atheism. Okay, there's a lot of stupidity involved in that. So there's a reason that they removed it from the default subreddits, guys. Everybody was sick of it because there are some people over there that are just stupid. I wouldn't say atheism is their God, but certainly a religion in terms of process. Okay, sure. So if people are going to come up with religion and ritual on their own, no matter what, then I say that what you have to do is you have to say what is actually a healthy religion and what is an unhealthy one. That's what it really comes down to, right? And my argument would be that of the religions of the world currently constituted, Christianity is one of the most effective. There are some other ones that are pretty good. I think that Buddhism has done a pretty okay job. Okay. There are some things about Confucianism that seem to work, although there's some really toxic things about Confucianism too. I digress. Calling atheism a religion is like calling being bald a hairstyle. It is a hairstyle, dude. Listen, if you have the ability to have regular hair and you choose to be bald, then it is a hairstyle. You realize that there is a very strong culture around being bald, right? Are you not aware of the League of Bald Men that rule the world? It's a thing. That was the worst example you could. Come on, that's a stylistic choice. It is. See, the question that I think you should be asking yourself is, what are my rituals? Right? What are my dogmatic beliefs? Because everybody has them. Part of becoming self-aware is realizing what those are. Yeah. So here's the one that you have with religion, with atheism. Just because the census says, what are you, and presents you with 100 options and makes it appear like they're all on the same footing, you have to understand that atheism is the exception to religion. But here's the thing, Keller. Do you consider atheism to be a part of your identity? Do you see? If you don't believe in God, why does it have to be a part of your identity? If you didn't believe in God, wouldn't it just be like a simple fact of matter and you would just accept it as nature, just like that if you drop a cup, it's going to fall to the ground, right? And yet they find the need to go and create forums and talk to people, and they proselytize. They feel the need to go out and try and convince people of their religion, right? This is another one. It's just like, it's the idea that a certain way of being is better and that everybody should be that way of being. And that's what it really comes down to. I think the thing that would be unique is saying let people believe what they want. It doesn't matter. You can still be an effective and healthy society with people having differing belief systems. That's the truly unique, odd belief system. You back to that Jordan Peterson's view where everything is religious? Well, he's right, dude. I think he's right. I think I made my point. I don't know. You're not really talking about my point, so I'm kind of like, Yeah, that's really differentiates atheism from religion. No magical, invisible beings. Yeah, that's right. You're correct. But what the problem is that you believe that religion is about a belief in a magical, unknowable being, when it is really not. Or religion is about a collective belief system about the way that things should be that is not necessarily provable. Can you empirically prove that the world would be better off if everybody was atheists rather than if everybody was Christians? How can you actually know unless you can actually do it? So you are trying to create the world where everybody is an atheist based on that belief that is not empirically provable, unless you're successful in your endeavor. That's what religion. So you're saying a lot of things that are not empirical, right? Like, let's just think about that. So let's think about every argument. Can we prove that empirically? If you can't prove it empirically, then why do you believe in it? Because it's a religion. You know what's a religion that I think is really harmful? Do you know what I'm going to say? You're all thinking, you're like, what is Seth talking about? What? Technical analysis, guys. Technical analysis is a religion. They believe all of these things about the way that the market behaves that has absolutely no empirical backing to it. And they're willing to follow it to their own financial ruin. It's a religion. I dare say that in some cases technical analysis verges on a cult. That's like if you try and get out of it, they'll like disown you and You're making an religious arguments sound like little kids Uzi talking about their invisible friend, the atheists, or the adults shaking. So is that an empirical argument? Could you put that in a paper and get it published on SSRN? You get what I'm saying? But can you empirically prove that maybe some parts of a religion maybe are harmful or not harmful? I think in some cases you can. Yeah. So, for instance, if your religion believes that you shouldn't ever get surgery, well, we can empirically prove that surgery will save your life in certain instances, and that society as a whole is healthier and happier because of surgeries, right? So then what do? We present that empirical evidence and we convince people this. And of course, you can't convince everybody, but the vast majority of religions are okay with those things now. Like a blood transfer. you have, like, here's the thing, is that God could exist, right? I mean, the idea is at least logically consistent. God could exist, but he's all powerful, and therefore he would make himself known, but set things up so that you couldn't possibly know for sure or empirically prove that he is real in order to force people to have faith in him. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Right? So, to one extent or another, if you don't believe it, you have to have faith. Like, you're having faith that if something's not provable, that I should disbelieve it. There you go. Well, there's a little bit of a pullback. I'm still not interested in the E-mini. Yeah, Keller is saying gotta trade some. Yeah, probably. I've probably gotten off the rails a little bit, but every time I come back and look at it, I'm like, nah, I'm not interested in trading it. I think I got my thing and got it done for the day, right? Why does it matter? Here's the thing. I got off track because how does it come back to trading, right? The reality is that humans, it's a part of their nature to do this. And there is an argument for atheists, at least the atheists understand this, that tendency of humans can work against you. It can work in your favor and it can work against you, right? If you have a strategy and you believe in that strategy, then you will hold to that strategy. And if it's an effective strategy, then you're going to be able to hold to it even when it's not working very well for you. And sometimes, for certain strategies, that's kind of what's necessary. You're not going to win all the time, and you're going to have drawdowns, and you're going to have to be able to deal with it. And that kind of unwavering belief in your strategy is going to be a benefit to you, right? That is, unless the strategy doesn't actually work. And what we get is a bunch of people have formed non-empirical religious beliefs about certain strategies in the markets, and they follow them to their complete and utter doom. You get what I mean? So what is the solution there? You've got to be self-aware, right? You have to understand that this part about ourselves and be able to see where you have those and use that part of human nature intentionally, right? Like, I can come in and I can say, if you rely upon empirical evidence as the basis of your trading, you're more likely to be successful. Can I prove that? I can't prove that to you. I really can't prove that to you. I wish I could. But all of the studies out there that have been done on these kinds of subjects, it basically just come to the conclusion that retail traders don't make money. Right? And to even be able to come into trading and say, oh, I think I can be successful at it, requires a certain religious belief in your own ability that is not logical, right? But the only way that anybody ever became successful with trading is by having that attitude. Ergo, religion is a part of people that you can't get away with, and in some cases can be beneficial and necessary. Let's see here. What's one guy here? Oh, you're posting astrology stuff. If everyone thought Batman existed, atheist types would obviously spend a lot of time saying Batman isn't real. But you think that means we believe in Batman because we sit here saying he doesn't exist? That makes no sense. Well, okay, so let's use your example. Let's try and use your example. Are there people in the world that believe that Batman exists? Probably there is somebody in this world that believes Batman exists. Probably. Are you going to spend all your time trying to convince them that they don't exist? I mean, maybe if they brought it up and it was a subject of discussion, I suppose. But you know what? If I came out of that discussion and that person still believed that Batman exists, I wouldn't really care. I would just kind of find it funny. You know what I mean? And that's what I would expect an atheist to be like. But the vast majority of atheists, at least that I have interaction with and that you see online, they're not like that. That they make it their life's purpose to be an atheist, right? That's where it's this thing. It's like, it's not just like you believe in something, you know? It's not just you have an opinion on something. It's like it becomes a part of who you are, and it guides your whole viewpoint on the world, and you believe that everybody should hold that opinion. That's where I think that it starts to become religion, especially when it's something that you can't empirically prove. Or at the very least, maybe it is something that you can empirically prove, but that you didn't arrive to empirically. If society was being controlled by the Batman cult and they were banning random people from getting married or something like that. Well, okay, so then this goes back to my thing that is, so why don't you focus on the whole preventing people from getting married thing, or the reasons that they want to be married? Like, that's the thing, is like, if Batman invented marriage, then it would be a different issue, okay? Let's say that Batman had a ritual where you become an honorary Robin, okay? And Batman gets to decide who can be, and only certain people can become that honorary Robin. And then people that don't believe in Batman turned around and started to make people honorary Robins that, based off of Batman's rules, couldn't be. Then they would be kind of weird, right? But it wouldn't really matter unless being an honorary Robin actually gave you certain government benefits. And then what is the real question there? Why in the hell is the government giving people special benefits if they're an honorary Robin? That makes absolutely no sense. It's absolutely insane and stupid. And nobody ever turns around to the whole marriage thing and say, oh yeah, why are these benefits attached to marriage and only marriage? That doesn't really make sense, does it? Do you see? That's how you got to pick and choose your battles. Because there's some battles you can't win. And hey, you can pick a battle that you know you're going to lose. Okay? But just make sure that battle is really truly the one that you want to lose off of, because the last thing that you want to do is, you know, Custer's last stand or something like that. I'm digging our new religion Batman in red trousers with an honorary Robin sneak peek. Oh my gosh. I really went off the rails with that one, didn't I? So in summary, probably we should change the subject now, but in summary, people, the majority of people's beliefs are arrived at based on faith, not empirical evidence. And we should be cognizant of that and our ability to do that and utilize it when it's beneficial to us and be aware of it so that it doesn't harm us. For a long time, gays couldn't serve in the military. Oh, maybe where you live. Well, that one's a little different. It wasn't that they couldn't serve in the military. It was that they couldn't openly serve in the military. Yeah. Oh, it's a good point. If those things have changed, then you no longer have an argument in that respect. Well, yeah, like that's the thing is that like, are we able to work through it? I mean, in this case, it kind of looks like we did. I don't know if I liked the solution per se, but hey, it's not the end of the world. Life goes on. Seems like we're all okay with it. You can't demonize religion for policy. Well, yeah, and the thing is that people are always going to oppose certain things. So you can't just blame everything on religion, right? People will have beliefs in things that contradict your own, and they're not always going to be empirical or provable, and they're not always going to be due to Christianity, right? Because what we have in this country right now is a group of people that believe a certain thing about the way that policy should go. They believe that race should define you and that the government should give you special benefits or not based on what your race is. And it's not empirical. It's not empirical, and I think it's damaging to society. It doesn't have anything to do with their belief in God. I don't know. I don't think I convinced him. Do you think I convinced him, Uzi? I don't think I convinced him. It sounds like he still cares more about whether or not God exists rather than the specific policy goals that he's trying to accomplish. Okay, here's a question. What is a current policy in place today that you believe is in place because of Christianity that you think should be changed? Promoting atheism is about getting people to take a step back from believing things without evidence at all. It's not possible, dude. There are some things that you have to believe that you won't have evidence for, or you can't function in this life. Okay, so we're going to get the oil stuff. They're making a pretty good recovery here. The military chaplain shouldn't exist. Okay, why not? I don't think that you. In fact, I'll give you a chance to change it. I don't know if that's really the policy that I would choose. How is a military chaplain being detrimental to society? Because it gives undue. How so? How is it harmful? Where does it have actual measurable impacts on people? It's to the detriment of some people. So the E-mini is looking pretty good. Like, it makes me want to buy it there, but then I look at it and I'm like, well, okay, except for with this spot that we're in, I don't know if they're going to go through it or not yet. Okay. Your argument's really not making much sense to me, Color. We don't let non-religious people hold a position that is basically all about helping people with their religious beliefs. Okay? Listen, if you want to go and petition the government to go and make woke be a chaplain position, like I bet you could probably get it to happen. They will. That's you're speculating. Okay. RJ Will, I think has maybe a better one. He says that since less than 50% of people attend churches, the tax exemption should be removed. So you don't believe that churches, the donations required from churches should be tax exempt? Do you think that any organization should be able to be tax exempt? Yeah, tax exemption is another issue because it actually affects people. You get what I'm saying? The issue here, though, is that we're talking about a privilege of sorts that religious organizations get that atheists don't want religions to have. Why? Because it gives, it's beneficial to the religions. And if the religions had to pay taxes on it, then it would be worse. All right. Because honestly, I have to say, you get rid of the tax exemptions for churches and force churches to pay pay taxes on all of the tithing that they collect. Good luck with that one. Tax exemption in this entire conversation is literally the only issue. Yeah. Yeah, of course they campaign to get tax exemption for it because they don't want 30% of their revenue to be taken by the government. That's a surprise. It's about maintaining a secular government. I don't. Whether or not that religious organizations are tax exempt or not doesn't change and also I think that your opinion on what is a secular government is probably different from mine. Why we do it to every other business? No, we don't. There's lots of tax exempt organizations. They don't tax Amazon. Why not? They don't tax Black Lives Matters, lol. Yeah, there you go. It's a perfect example, Izzy. Listen, how come the woke religion doesn't get taxed, but Christians should? Would you agree that if Christian organizations should be taxed, that Black Lives Matter should be taxed, but those organizations don't engage in political campaigning? Okay, wait. If he's talking about Black Lives Matter, obviously we all know why that's ridiculous. But maybe he means Amazon. Amazon engages in political campaigning. They've been campaigning the government to increase the minimum wage, for instance. They absolutely engage in political campaigning. Why would whether or not you are politically engaged or not matter to whether or not you should be tax exempt? I think that people should be able to say whatever they want to say, and that whatever they want to say should have absolutely no impact on how the government handles them. Don't think that you should get taxed or not taxed because you share your opinion. That's wrong. Ask our tax guy about our red trousers religion tax exemption status. because other people shouldn't be forced. You're not subsidizing other people's politics. Now you're getting into an even worse fallacy that's even more pertinent to what we do in markets that I'm going to love talking about because I want to talk about it. Not taxing people is not subsidizing people, okay? Do you understand? When I make money, it's my money. It's my money. I earned it. That's how this works we live in a society, guys. I earned that money. It's my money. Now, here's the thing. We as a society have made a collective agreement through a constitution and with a constitutional amendment that the government can tax us because we have agreed that the government needs to be able to do certain things like protect our lives and liberty. And so we wrote a constitution to define what those roles for the government were. And then at some later point, we also gave them the ability to tax us. So it's my money, but I have, through collective agreement enshrined in the Constitution, agreed that the government can tax me in certain ways, right? It's not the government's money. It is my money, and I have agreed to give it to the government through my agreement with the Constitution. This is what the Constitution says, essentially, right? But everybody comes in and gets into this idea that like everything belongs to the government and it's the government's right to take things. And if the government isn't taxing the church, then the government is giving something, is subsidizing or giving somebody something, when the reality is it's not. They're not taking something. That's completely different. Completely different. So if it's my money, why should it go to your church? But we're not giving the church your money. We're not. Does the government make payments to churches? No. Okay, why should my money pay for a military chaplain? Okay, now you got a real question. Okay, I think that when people are engaged in war zone situations, that it is very stressful and psychologically damaging, and turning to religion and working with a military chaplain is a method that has been proven to be effective. And that's why they have them. And if you want to have an atheist military chaplain, I think that you might be able to do that. Can you do that? Well, no atheist chaplains lawmakers tell Navy. Let's read this story. The Navy Times. That's really weird that that's the top one. Well, I don't know if I agree with that particular thing. I think that if you want, there's this saying they're a secular humanist chaplain. I think if somebody wants to do it, I think they should be allowed to. I'm just reading the story here. The Catholic Church got more bailout money. Did they really? Well, but they have services, right? Maybe it was given to them for their humanity, not necessarily to the Catholic Church directly, but for, their charitable organizations, which I know money is fungible, but I digress. Community needs the financial allocations that having a church offers. Well, you bring up an interesting point, though, right? The religion serves a place in the society beyond just being a collective belief system, isn't it? because that collective belief system allows people, or not allows, but organizes people towards collective causes that you would not otherwise be able to achieve. Is going to play further, Melissa, probably. Money is fungible, I will admit. I don't necessarily have a direct problem with stimulus money being given to churches if it was for specific purposes of services that those churches provide. Churches do way less social work than they pretend. It depends on the church. There's for sure a lot of churches out there, especially by the more modern style of Christian church, that are really turned into just an special interest in and of themselves. Yeah. So I got a little bit of, so as we've been coming up, I'm getting quite a little bit of slippage. I'm not quite sure what I think about that. So there was a big cell there, and there's a big cell there. They were all cells. Those churches call non-believers and fools and damn us to hell. Here again, you care too much about what other people think. You care too much about what other people think. I tell you what, man. Life is better when you realize that you don't have it all figured out and that other people should believe things that are different from what you believe. I love to argue, so I'm probably not the shining example here, but especially when it comes to religious beliefs, I've realized better to let people believe what they want. And then I have to come back and I have to say, okay, how do I pick and choose my battles? Right? So to me, arguing with a Muslim about whether or not Jesus was the Son of God, not particularly a battle that I would be interested in spending a large amount of effort on. Right? So why do I choose the ones that I do? Because those are the ones where I think that there can be the most societal impact, right? So if it has to do with allocation of capital, that's always going to take precedence for me, because that's the thing that I believe that our society is having trouble understanding and is in danger, right? When it comes to the role that religion plays in our lives, that one is one that I'm interested in too, because there's a lot of ideas out there about it that is false. That you can get rid of religion and it'd be better without it. But this is just, I think that there's some pretty good evidence to suggest that that's not true. I'm not going to call it empirical per se. I mean, it is empirical, but we're talking about much more of like social issues. So when you get into social and economic sciences, it's what empirical is means a little bit different of the thing, right? If there was a church that endlessly told everyone to treat you like crap, do you think they should get a tax exemption because one time they gave out soup? Yes, I do believe that BLM should be tax exempt, yes. I probably should have said that, but I do believe BLM should be a tax-exempt organization. I think that they should change how they allocate their money. I don't think that the money is really going to the causes that they claim that it's going for when they get the donations from people. I don't think it's a well-organized organization. I wouldn't donate my own money to it, but should they be tax-exempt? I think so, yes. I haven't been to many churches, but between the churches I've been to, including mosques, I've never heard anyone say we should endlessly treat people like crap. Yeah. When people often misquote Nietzsche when they talk about God is dead, where they both were trying to warn us of what happens when man loses his sense of meaning. Something like, yeah. BLM is just a DNC front. Yeah, it's totally, yeah. But that's still tax exempt, right? This is why it's important to go back to how do we have taxes? Taxes don't come from the government, government gives us all rights and all things, and so we have to do what the government says. No, taxation is a collective agreement. The Constitution is a collective agreement. We, through our representatives, have accepted that agreement in the form of it being ratified by 2/3 of Congress and being ratified by 47 states to be able to do income taxes. And so we have agreed to it. Once you go into that point, then we can come back and we can look at these specific laws and we can say, okay, so we've made this collective agreement. Why? Because the government needs money to do things. And apparently we've also been used it to create incentives and disincentives for certain kinds of behavior, which could have some issues, but let's just accept for the moment that we're agreeing to that too, right? Well, then whether or not you tax somebody should have to do with whether or not it's accomplishing the goals and so forth, right? So what have we decided to do? We've decided that religious and charitable organizations don't get taxed. Organizations that are there primarily for the promotion of certain ideas, we don't tax them. Why? Because we don't want, we donate to those companies, those organizations. And so we want that money to be spent on the cause that we're donating it to them for. And we don't want some of it to go to the government. Otherwise, people wouldn't donate. So the E-mini is looking a little better here. I'm wondering if it's going to turn down, though. Treasury's still up near their highs. They haven't gotten through 16.5. They did get a higher high in the 5-year. Dollar down. I don't know. America has it so wrong. It says, in God we trust, and yet we don't believe in God. You do. Well, at the time that all of that was created, we did. I mean, this is an issue, right? So in old times, it was the case that the religion and the government were kind of related entities, that a country would all have the same collective belief system. Well, why is that? Well, I think that's the way that we evolved. That religion is in part a way to keep tribes working cohesively together, right? You can kind of see how in America, without a collective belief system that we had like 50, 100 years ago, there's a lot of problems that we have with unity in this country that we didn't have prior to that. And when you go back to the places even before that, like the Civil War, where we had issues, it kind of came down to a problem of a specific moral belief, didn't it? So I think that's why it exists. So now that we are in a post-religious society, essentially, is what it seems like to me. yeah, there's kind of problems, because then what's happened is another religion has come up to take its place, and it's a religion with the really problematic ideas that very much conflict with the founding basis of this country and what the majority of Americans believe. There you go. The root of this entire argument is perceived in the powerful versus the perceived powerless. The atheist feels underrepresented and powerless. Yeah. Well, all of these kind of societal issues do kind of come down to a certain minority group, whether it's a minority, a racial minority, or a minority in a certain belief system, don't feel that they don't get things the way that they want them to be, and they want to have more political power. That's really is what it always comes down to, isn't it? Okay. I'll believe you that they put "In God We Trust" on there to fight against communists, sure. If it was an issue today, if it wasn't on money and there was a legislation to put that on the money, I would support it. So I would support it. It's specifically exclusivist. Well, the question is it effective? That's always the question I'm going to have. I think that having some acknowledgement of the role that religion plays in our life, even though we aren't explicitly, what is the word, when it comes to separation of church and state, the church can't make laws. The church doesn't get special legal privileges. But acknowledging that we are religious in our culture, from a cultural standpoint, seems to be effective to me. I don't know how to say your name. I know that you've been around and lurking for a while, though. I definitely remember your name, bud. Maybe you've mentioned this before, but do you have a position in Dodge? Just curious. I don't watch every minute of your stream. Oh, okay. Well, I do not have a position in Dodge. I'm not going to take a position in something unless I believe I have a pretty good chance of predicting where it's going to go, or I have some sort of edge. You know what? If it was 2017 and I had been paying attention, I should have bought some in Dodge, and I would have gotten, I would have taken it. I don't think that I would be holding it to $1, but I would have made some money. But I didn't do that. And now at this point, do I know if it's going to go higher or not? I really don't. So I have a position in Garlic Coin. I have a position in Garlic Coin because I believe that it's so ridiculously undervalued that the upside is really good, and that the Garlic Coin will be worth at least $1, if not $100 at some point. So I have a position in that one because I feel like I can predict it, The risk reward is so favorable that it's worth it. Did you watch the Chauvin trial? That one witness was sworn in on a book. You swear in on a book when you become a congressman or a president, though. And if you're atheist, you can choose to do something different. You can choose to just hold your hand up. Oh, really? Richard Nixon was a Quaker and they do not swear in? I did not know that. Well, that's it. That is not what I expected Richard Nixon's religion to be at all. I don't know. Like, I hear a lot of things that are kind of like, I ask and I'm like, okay, here's a policy. Is it effective? But what I'm very often hearing is not, here's a policy, is it effective? What instead I hear is, here's a policy, it's not fair to us that don't believe in that same thing. Okay, then don't do it. Do you think the Treasury bond will rise? Do you mean price or interest rate, WineTube? So what I see in the Treasury right now is that there are a lot of reasons for Treasuries yields to rise, particularly the specter of rising inflation, regardless of whether or not it will be transitory. That's something that can make rates rise. But for the short term, there appears to be a significant amount of demand. I'm not exactly sure where that demand comes from. Some of it could be short covering, but you saw it yesterday and you saw it today again. Like today, there was the Treasury refunding announcement. It was a net negative for Treasuries. So yields did rise. But then as soon as they got that news out of the way, somebody else came in and bought the market back up for, I'm not sure why. But that's what appears to be going on in the Treasuries right now. And are they going to be able to get meaningfully above 132.16 in the 10-year Treasury? Well, that's not sure. I can only just tell you what like the current state is, right? You got to remember that a lot of what I'm doing is not necessarily always trying to make a huge call, right? I'm only going to try and make a call about the future direction of something on more than a few second time frame. If I have a piece of news that just came out that gives me a reason to think that the market hasn't factored it in yet, right? I have information that's not factored in by the market. It doesn't happen very often in Treasuries, right? So when I'm trading off of the Treasuries, I'm more looking for correlations. I'm looking for like a small mispricing, and I don't necessarily know where it's going to go in the long run. Today, though, I did kind of break that. I was like, they look like they want to buy up. I'm not sure why, but the flow is definitely there, and I went with it, and I ended up being right. I might have just gotten lucky on that one. Earlier, I was thinking like, I was pretty good. I made a good trade. I played that exactly the way that I should have. I picked the right price to get out at and everything. But I'm looking back on it and I'm like, but I really don't know why they're buying it up. And that was luck. Oh, Keller's got to go now. All right, I'll talk to you later. By the way, on my watch list for the cryptocurrencies, I hate it when my USB switch decides to switch on me here. What do we got? Dogecoin up 22% in the past 24 hours. Bitcoin Cash up 24%. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Bitcoin Cash taking off. Interesting. Garlic Coin, well, it's up 4%, but it's still around 12 cents. Garlic Coin, we're gonna have to wait a while. It might be it might be a long time. Seems like Garlic Coin's not quite ready to take off again, but I don't know what's been causing the pumps in Garlic Coin, but if it's just like one group of people or something, they're patient. Play the long game. WineTube says the Treasury Secretary says a higher interest rate is necessary so that the economy won't overheat. How will that affect the bonds? Will it impact it hard? It won't have any impact at all because her comments were misinterpreted. So in the context in which that was being asked, she was not trying to make some sort of proclamation about what treasuries should be doing in the short term or what our interest rate policy should be doing. She was just making a statement about how interest rate policy tends to work, and that yes, at some point in the future, the economy will overheat if they don't raise rates. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen this year or even in the next 3 or 5 years, right? Just means that some future, because that's just how interest rate policy works. So it's explaining it to somebody that doesn't really know these things, right? But the market made that out to be like some sort of a policy prescription, which it wasn't intended to be, which is why she later came out later and walked her comments back and said, I'm not making a comment about what I think the interest rate policy should be right now. Now, if she was making a call about what the interest rate should be, and that she's saying that the Federal Reserve should raise interest rates, then that means that the prices, what we trade here in the futures, will decline. That treasuries will sell. Okay? So they did initially sell when she made those comments, but they've recovered because the market realized that they were misinterpreting it and that robots were overreacting and so forth. Yeah? It's a good trade. That one is like one of the best examples that you can look at in terms of how you can find inefficiencies in the market because of news. Because here you had a case where the market reacted to the news and they really shouldn't have, right? If the market was purely efficient, it would have looked at Janet Yellen's comments and realized the context and that it didn't matter and that she was going to walk it back, and they wouldn't have moved. But markets aren't 100% efficient. Far from it. They try to be. So it's useful to think of the market as efficient in some respects, but the unquestionable truth is that they are not efficient. Sometimes they can be very inefficient. Because the order flow is what moves it. And other people can be wrong about things. Hey, Gabby made a good trade there. Happy, joy. Why is my thing wants me to go? Oh, because it's 9 o'clock. I know. I got to get going, guys. Hey, I will talk to you tomorrow. In the meantime, stay profitable, friends.